All right, gents. It was me last week. This week it's James and Raf, both sick as a dog. I don't know what's going on, but there's definitely a flu going around. My missus is sick. I'm just getting over it. Still got a bit of a cough, so you guys will have to bear with me. But more importantly, we've got Perry joining us all the way from Thailand. For those of you guys that don't know who Perry is the engine room to Unemployable. There is no Unemployable without Perry. He's the one that controls the podcast. He controls all the editing in the background. He manages content and he does a bunch of other stuff. But he's just as important as anyone else on the team, even though we get the limelight and getting on camera. But Perry, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I just make sure if you guys look good or not. So they send me gifts once in a while. It's to work out as well. But yeah, just to knock on that note of what you said as well, is I was sick as a dog last week as well, mate. And this week now feeling a bit more alive, but still damaged goods. How you guys doing? How you doing, Mark?
Yeah, man, doing good, doing good. Can't complain. Lots going on.
Oh,
Lots to talk about.
this is the
Let's
thing,
talk
right?
about
Like
it.
it's every day, right? Like 2 weeks ago or whatever it's been, it was the war, and now it's talking about fuel and interest rates has have just went up, and brand new article that just came out today. Basically, the title of the article: Australia takes in record numbers of migrants in 12 months. Albanese plan in tatters. Where are we going? I mean, I think there's a lot of topics that we need to touch on. Um, and I think let's start with interest rates. I mean, interest rates have gone up yesterday, and there's more in the books. I mean, I got Mark. Mark, I'm pro
Mark's
property, so I try and talk to
buying.
Mark very,
Hey
very
Jerome,
minimal now.
hey Jerome, play the clip from all the previous podcast. Play the clips from all the previous podcasts when I told you interest rates will be going up. I think that interest rates will be heading higher over the long term. I keep coming back to this point. When interest rates are going from 15% to zero, that is a massive capital growth tailwind that you are riding as the interest rates go to zero. We're talking about interest rates that are going to be structurally rising over the next 10 to 15 years. I've said this multiple times. We went from the 1980s, where interest rates peaked at about 17%, to zero. And when that happens, when a chart goes from 17% down to zero over a 40-year period, and then it reverses and it starts going back up, there's probably been a regime shift.
So I try and stay positive, and that's why I don't talk to Mark too much, because he sends me things, going, oh, there's another 4 rate hikes coming, and there's this happening, and there's that happening, and then I go into a tailspin, and then I kind of ignore him for a bit and come back to normal. But no, guys, this is obviously some serious stuff. We've got interest rates that have gone up. There's pressures on a lot of households. Property prices are still at record highs. Build prices keep going up. And I'm talking to builders now about developments and stuff, and you still got increases going up on the weekly. Mark, like, if you peel back the layers of the onion here a little bit and just bring it back to layman's terms, can we actually be in an era of, I wouldn't say high interest rates, right? Higher than we're used to, lower than probably what has been normal over many years. But can we be in a spot where we can actually have interest rates where they are and still have an economy that works and a property market that works?
The simple answer is yes. I mean, if you look at the period prior to 1981, where interest rates peaked and then started coming down, you had the inflation of the 1970s, and you basically had a period where interest rates went from the 40s to the 80s. They went from like yield curve control after the war, suppressed, to 15, 16% interest rates. And during that time, you had property prices that were going up because rents were going up. And if rents go up, then everything has to go up. Everything has to go up with inflation. The question is that during that 30 or 40-year period, is owning property risk adjusted the best place to have your money parked, or are there other things that will outperform it? If we can just go like back one step, what I want the viewers to kind of understand is the reason that we're in a structurally higher interest rate regime is because the levels. I mean, look, this is just one of the reasons, it's not the only reason, but it's one of the structural important reasons. Is we're in a regime where fiscal spending, so government spending, has is dominating the spending and has kind of is at the moment has overtaken private spending. So governments are spending so much money, and the issue when governments when it's fiscal dominance versus private sector dominance is that governments historically are pretty inefficient. They're wasters of capital. So productivity goes down. So you only have to look as far as Australia and look at you go through the budget and you see all the money that's being spent on interest repayments and all the money that's being spent on NDIS. They are the two highest line items in the budget. Now, somebody explain to me what kind of business capacity or entrepreneurial productivity that we get from those two line items. Absolutely nothing, right? So we're in this regime where across all of the world and or mainly even the West especially, fiscal dominance is so high, it's unproductive, and when the spending is high and it's unproductive, then that creates inflation, right? A phenomenon that we didn't have from 1980 to 2020. We didn't have inflation. Countries were struggling to get inflation above their 2% targets, right? Because the dynamic was different. The government wasn't spending all this money. So the bond market, the people who set the interest rates, the ones who lend money to governments, they were buying bonds. They were buying bonds. They were lending and down their bonds that they're lending. Their things are appreciating in value. When somebody lends money to the government and they buy a bond, that's an investment. And if interest rates come down, their bond appreciates in value, right? And so it was the thing to do. They used to have a saying: buy bonds, wear diamonds, right? Buy bonds, wear diamonds. And that's what you could do. And then you had the 60-40 portfolio, 40% bonds, 60% stocks. And these guys made a killing for 40 years. But now that's shifted. Now we've gone into fiscal dominance. Now that playbook goes out the window. Now we're going structurally higher. And there's a whole host of ramifications that come with that. But, that's the long way of saying, in answer to your question, yes, we can still have a functioning property market, and we will most likely have a functioning property market. But in real terms, things like gold, Bitcoin, etc., will most likely outperform property because interest rates will get higher and the returns will get lower. And you'll also see the government, especially in Australia, try and tax property much more.
But like as rates go up, like you said, rents go up.
Yep.
But and this is the thing, like obviously when I see interest rates going up, there's a correlation between rents and interest rates going up. This is the thing, like it's a catch-22. I understand why they're increasing rates, right? Because inflation's out of control, not within control, a lot better than what it was at COVID. But now obviously with these oil prices, most manufacturing, everyone, needs to use oil, and the restriction and the war and all these things, that's going to naturally happen. But like, I just look at it and I go, the people that are renting, there's no ease for them either.
The people that are renting are the worst affected.
The worst affected because they're getting pushed out of the market even more, right? And their rents are going up, which means less disposable income.
So in an inflationary regime, the people that get hurt the most are the ones that don't hold assets. They are the ones that, beyond a shadow of a doubt, get hurt the most. It's the bottom end of the K. For the rich guys, right? Yeah, feel sorry for the rich guys. No, we're not saying that, but the rich guys will manage. The rich guys, Their problem is, do I have all my wealth in property, or do I have it in gold, or do I have it in Bitcoin, or do I diversify into Dubai real estate or whatever it is, right? Like that's the high quality rich guy problem. But make no mistake, it's those at the bottom end of the scale that are going to get hurt the most. Now, here's the paradox. Here's the catch-22. Here's the thing. 1 in 2 Australians, so 50% of Australians rely at least 50% of their income rely on the government for at least 50% of the income. So on one hand, that's necessary because as this dynamic plays out, we're going to need to support the bottom end of the K more and more and more. But the issue, I don't have an issue with supporting the bottom end of the K. The issue is with so much unproductive spending, what we're doing is we're destroying the nation as a whole their living standards. So yes, the rich will be fine, the poor get poorer, but as a nation, Australia as a nation, we collectively have a drop in living standards, right? And that's where and why you're seeing our good friend Adam Hudson buying property in Panama and the south of France and Bali, and you're seeing so many entrepreneurs, private sector capacity and productivity drivers that are leaving because they see the writing on the wall. They see, well, as a country, we're going to become less productive. That's a wealth tax on me. And so I've got the mobility, I want to pick up and leave. But it's a massive problem. And the government hasn't shown any foresight or willingness or political will to do what's required to fix it. They just keep making the problem worse. And then they say to us, because the problem's so bad, we're going to tax you more.
Yeah, it's funny because obviously Jerry,
because the problem that we created is so bad, we'll tax you more. Now, what you're gonna tax us more? Are you gonna make the problem better? No, you're gonna make the problem even worse because you've already shown you cannot be trusted to spend the money smartly. Sorry, BD.
No, you're right. I'm just, it's funny that you say that because obviously I interviewed Jerry this week. We had an interview with him and he's still a tax resident of Australia, but he has Jerry, there was a podcast which just came out this Tuesday. He basically relocated to Thailand, but he's still a tax resident in Australia for these very reasons of that his money's able to go further. Right. And it's just, it's the same thing that Adam's doing, the same thing a large proportion of people are doing. But I just wanted to know from your point as well, Mark and Eric, if you want to chime in, on a historical basis, when these rise, what do people like historically? What do people normally do? Do they panic, stop buying? Like, what's kind of the route that they do, and what would you suggest people do?
Well, the number one thing that I would suggest, and I'm not coming up with this on my own. I heard it recently on a podcast, and I think it's amazing advice. And Arthur Hayes actually basically said, for these people who are affected most, buying $10,000 worth of Bitcoin, that's not going to save you, right? If your income goes, and I'm not even talking the poorest of the poor, because the poorest of the poor, they're not thinking about buying $10,000 worth of Bitcoin. It's those that are earning, $250,000 a year combined household. Like if your combined household income goes from 250,000 to 75,000, you're not going to be able to pay the mortgage. You're not going to pay the school fees. You're not going to be able to pay the bills. Buying $10,000 worth of Bitcoin or gold, that's not going to save you, right? And so the first thing that I would be doing is I would be encouraging everybody out there to go out, and I'm going to do the same thing in the coming month because I think my spending's starting to get too high versus my income. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to audit my spending, and I'm going to cut all unnecessary expenditure. All unnecessary expenditure has to go because I'm going to batten down the hatches in the event that we do go into harder times, which is likely over the next 2-3 years, right? And so the first thing I'll do is to audit your expenditure and make sure that you're not spending money that you don't need to be spending. And, we talk about it all the time. We were launching Black Book Offshore, which is it's like a rich man's way to diversify, but we also need to be talking more about the average man's way to diversify and to have a plan B, right? Even on our shores. you
Well,
know?
I think you've just said the biggest thing is cutting expenditure, and it starts even with the simple thing of how many subscriptions do you guys actually have
Oh,
that are
fuck yeah,
probably
that's it.
taking a grand's worth, do you know what I mean? Like that you could just cut immediately. So
Man, I'm still paying for an Arlo subscription, which is a camera subscription at a house that I don't even live in anymore. And I've just
We
realized, I'm like, what's that 9.99 Arlo? Oh my God. And you know what? I seen it yesterday and I haven't even had time to do something about it. So
Yeah,
guess what?
yeah.
I just paid for it again today. And
Rich
I'll pay
man's problem.
and I'll pay for it again tomorrow. But it's not even that, right? Like I'm the same as you. Like I actually had a discussion with Jen yesterday going, everyone's in different scenarios. And I was just telling her, I'm like, you know what? Like, let's just chill a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, let's just not don't spend any money, but let's just watch. Let's not be, a glutton with the money and just, let's respect it a little bit now. Because when there's a lot of fear around, you feel it. Like I've been feeling tense lately.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
just
yeah.
the
Well,
war,
everyone's getting sick.
fuel prices,
yeah,
right? Like, yeah, all these articles and open claw is gonna, there's no one's gonna have a job within a certain period of time, and all these things. You're just going, shit, man. What do you do, right? Like I was going, like you got to be very, very calm, cool, and collective right now, and non-emotional, and realize when you are thinking emotionally, right? And make sure that you're not in your head. And my recommendation is always get what's in your head out. Talk to people about it,
write it
whether it's a
down.
positive person, whoever it is. Get everyone's angle, right? Like I like getting Mark's angle because I'm quite a um opportunist, optimistic, positive person in the entrepreneurial real estate investing world, right? And I think that's very important. But at the same time, what you don't want to be either is naive. And I know that Mark does a lot of research as an example. So I like talking to him and I'll get a bit of information. And then sometimes I'll put it on his tinfoil hat like we all do and go, I think that this can happen and this can happen and this can happen. But let me tell you, he did say that interest rates are
You're
going
right.
up,
But
and he's
but but
right.
but often, like, I'm not a pessimist, I'm an optimist, right?
Yes.
And I try and explain things that could happen, not
Yeah.
I predicted interest rates would go up. I'm not
Yeah.
necessarily predicting that everyone's gonna be out of a job. There's a
Yes.
possibility it could happen.
Yeah.
Like, I think the important thing is to distinguish between predictions and possibilities as well, right?
I agree. And another thing is everyone has an angle, right? Like I was just listening to um a reel of a Australian Gold Coast based buyer's agent, and he's pretending to be the buyer and the seller, right? Not the seller, the agent and the buyer. And he's like, all right, so tell me a little bit about the Gold Coast. Well, Gold Coast is restricted by land, right? We've got the mountains here, we've got the beach here, and we have this little area here, and we have, record population growth, and we're short 100 and something thousand houses. And like, that's his model, right? And I'm like, I listened to it. I'm like, shit, man, this is good. Yeah, man, you're right. Yeah, yeah, I like that. Yeah. But you got to realize who you're listening to, right? He's a buyer's agent, right? So what are buyer's agents? Right.
What you
And,
doing?
and don't, and I have friends that are buyer's agents, right? They're not going to sit there and, and I don't think they're being, it's too
Nefarious. It's not
nefarious.
yeah,
Yeah. I don't
yeah.
think they're being nefarious with what they're trying to say, right? Are they maybe adding a little bit to it? Maybe. But then you have other people that are talking about certain things that the world is ending. And then you're going, holy shit, that makes a little bit of sense, actually. So you got to be careful who and what you're putting into your head. And don't be like all just positivity. Yeah, right. Don't be naive and think there's everything, goes up. You got to be very, very strategic right now. Like I'm literally now, I actually have a calendar, time block tomorrow of going into ChatGPT, which is going to be now Claude, which I haven't downloaded yet, but I will, and put in my information and go, this is where I'm at. This is what I have. This is the access cash that I'm sitting on. this is my debt levels. This is what's happening at the moment, right? And really prompting it with some questions so it can do some deep critical thinking for me. I haven't really done that before, right? I haven't actually done that before. I haven't put all this information into AI, to Claude or ChatGPT. So I'm quite interested to see that angle, right? But the
And
key
that's
is
a good
doing the
question.
work and asking the questions.
But I'd actually pull on that thread really quickly. Is have you guys ever done, like, Mark? I'm sure you've done that. I've
I
asked
do it all the
questions
time.
before.
I do it like every
Just
quarter.
yeah, just to prompt, like, what am I doing right now? What's working? Like, it can come back with some things you didn't even think about, right? Like,
Yeah.
it is amazing. But like, on the kind of fear basis, and again, what was it regarding you were talking about with Albanese, and it was in regards to migrations being a big issue recently?
I mean, like you look at it like news.com, right? Like we've been talking about population growth on the podcast since the day we started, right? And it being an issue. Now, there's an article that came out today, right, at 12:53. So literally an hour and 10 minutes ago from us recording this, because we're recording this on a Wednesday for Friday. And it's saying just in January this year, right? So we're just obviously in March, so January, and net permanent and long-term arrivals, 57,000 people, right, arrived on our shores just this January. Now, in the 12 months to January, right? So basically, obviously the year up to January, just shy of 500,000 people entered the country, right? Net permanent and long-term arrivals. I'm not talking about visitors. We're
Temporary.
not talking about
Yeah.
holiday, right? We're talking
They
about
are.
people
I think
that are
they are.
intending.
I think it's students
They
as
are
well, though.
technically temporary residents. They're not.
Well, it could. So it's saying net permanent and long-term arrivals are migrants who have declared that they're intending to stay in Australia for 12 months or longer. Now, the
Yeah,
thing is, with working
it's
holiday
driven
visas,
by temporary
right?
migration, international students. So we on that point, and I'll let you finish.
Yep.
This is, you remember the rhetoric Australia has avoided a recession for the last 20 years?
Mm.
This is the sleight of hand magic trick that the Australian government has used to avoid a recession for the last 20, 30 years. What they do is they bring in these temporary migration international students, right? Something like 10% of the population in our country is these students. Temporary migration. They don't end up becoming permanent residents. But what they do is, in the period that they are here, they go out there and they work and they add to the GDP. And so a technical recession is when you get 2 negative quarters of GDP. Because we've been with pumping like a junkie with a syringe in the arm, we've been pumping in these temporary residents into the country for the last 30 years. That's how we've technically avoided a recession, right? That's how we've done it. And it's great for the government because there's no pension. Because once we get rid of them, and we don't have a pension liability to them, right? But here's the issue. Here's the problem. They are not productive because they come
Yes.
and then they leave. They don't set up businesses and stay. And so this is the reason that we are in the productivity mess that we're in, because we haven't had a recession. You don't have a recession, you get voted back in, but we've fucked
Yeah.
the country with this strategy. This is the strategy that is ruining the country because we're not willing to take any pain.
Right?
Isn't the opposite side of that is the reason why that they keep bringing them in to do the jobs that locals don't want to do?
Look, that you could say that, right? But we, like, what, the most of these people are students, international students, or people who work in cafes, right? Like it's not really turning the economy over. They're not. We To fix this mess. The government needs to stop spending so much freaking money, and they need to encourage small, medium enterprise to start innovating and setting up businesses and employing people. And then you can bring in You can bring in skilled workers. We're going to need a shit ton of tradies. Start bringing them in and give them permanent residency, because that's what
Well,
we need, right?
when you look at this, right, it says labor claims to bring migration down gradually from the post-COVID spike by tightening temporary visas and letting numbers fall naturally, while keeping permanent skilled migration steady at about 185,000 a year. So there's still, so this is interesting, right? Because these numbers, you can read this different ways. Does 185,000 permanent skilled migration, is that on top of the 500 that are looking to be here for the next 12
Well, they
months
said
or
it's
longer?
net, right? They said
Right?
net.
Yeah. But again, they're saying there's 185,000 skilled workers,
Mm.
right?
It'd be easy to check that.
Yeah. So, but the reality is this: there's some of them that are just working at cafes, and then there's some of them that actually have drive, right? Like I have a barber I used to go to, and now he's got 2 barber shops. He's on a student visa. He's from Brazil, as an example. Like, there's some people that are actually wanting to stay, but it's very difficult to stay here now. Like, I got sponsored 15 years ago now, or whatever it is, but it's very difficult for them to actually get permanent residency here. You know, they got to do 1 year working holiday visa. Then they got to go out and
Well,
pick fruit for a certain
Byron
amount of months.
Byron
Right? And
pays
then,
all of them. Like
yeah, to get another
all of
12
our
months.
babysitters, all of our babysitters are these temporary residents. Like, I've got nothing against these people. They're amazing
Yeah.
people.
But I agree with you. The thing is, a lot of these students, right, they're not just people with no money. You've got family, right? You've got a lot of Chinese now. You've got a lot of Indians. You got a lot of different type of culture that are coming here, and they're buying property for their kids to live in. They're investing. You know, they're I'd love to see the Foreign Investment Review Board numbers on how many
I can
FIRBs.
I
You
can
know,
tell you. I can tell you. I sold land in Point Cook for 4 years, and at least 50% of the purchases were foreign purchases from China.
yeah. See,
I'm trying to
That
think.
doesn't help the population here, right?
well, it doesn't
And that
help.
may
This is
tighten
why.
that.
Yeah, but this is why, like, in my opinion, right? All these talks about them bringing down the I'll be very surprised if they bring down population. They haven't done it in 20 years. Why would they do it now? Right? They need more population now than ever to prop everything up.
I've probably won a lot of fans to this point. I'm probably about to lose them, right? Because the reality is, with the birth rates in the West being what they are and being so low, we need
You know.
immigration.
Just replacement. Just replacement.
We
Correct.
need migration, or we have a big deflation. And the only thing worse than inflation is deflation,
Inflation.
right? That
What is it at the moment?
destroys-
At the moment in Australia, 1.4.
Inflation is 3.8.
No. For the replacement needs to be 2.1, and I think Australia is at 1.3. 1.3. Yeah. Sorry, continue.
No, I just look at, like, the pressures that people are under, right? And I look at people like Perry, or people like Adam, or people like Raf, and these types of people that are like Perry's in Thailand. He lives in Bangkok. He's from the UK. He could be living in the UK, right? But he's decided to go to Thailand. Now, what I want to know, Perry, is how much does it cost you, right, in Thailand to live, and explain the life that you live, so people
So-
can get an understanding? Because there's migration in, and that's fine, and we can sit here talking about migration for hours and hours. In my opinion, it's not going to stop. They can't let it stop. Like Mark said, this has been the
The problem is the type of migration. Like, we need the type of migration that we had after World War II, where you brought in all the Europeans and they became builders.
Yeah, they did become builders. But the problem is now is, back then they didn't need to have all their trade certificates and this and that. You come over as a doctor, you come over as a specialized trade, as a plumber, as an example, and you're a plumber over there. Doesn't mean you're a plumber here anymore. You then got to go and do apprenticeships. You got to earn no money, for 4 years. You got to be. This is the issue, right? The issue
Well,
is
this is
there's
this
so
is the
much
pro-
red tape.
this is the problem. The Australian government hasn't woken up and gotten the memo, right? Like if you look at the places where today's entrepreneurs, today's builders, because let's be honest, right? We might get to a point where most homes are being built by 3D printers, not and robots, not hands and sweat,
I
right?
seen the first one last 2 weeks ago.
Right. So who the builders of today are the people that would start those companies, right? Like, okay, Dubai has its problems, but they're encouraging entrepreneurs, finance, etc. You've got Italy and Portugal now
Yeah.
that are
digital visas.
massive digital visa programs because they're trying to encourage today's builders, the builders that use a keyboard, right?
Global
The
economy.
engineer is the new builder. You've got Miami or you've got Florida and Texas who have encouraged all those builders. You know, there's places around the world that are encouraging builders. Like we have to get back to that. We have to get back to that. We have to inspire the next generation of builders here in this country. We have to create opportunity and we have to create
Well, you can't
advantageous scenarios for them.
you can't do that by bringing them in and just saying you got the qualification, but sorry, you got to do another 2 years of study or an apprenticeship. And then what do? They go and drive an Uber. You know how many people that I've talked to? I talk to everybody. Okay, when I'm in an Uber or I'm in a taxi, I'm the guy, right? That my kids, when they're in the back, I go, "Here we go, Dad. Just like, can you just be quiet?" Right? Hey, man, where you from? What do you do? So many people with qualifications that can't use their qualification here. So what do? Uber.
Red tape and bureaucracy.
Right, and that's the exact right. Yes, I agree. So Perry, tell me, there's as many people that are coming in, there's people that are leaving, right? But I've never actually asked you this question before.
Yeah. Well, so there's two things. First, I just want to pull on that point and say we probably need to talk deeper on actual enterprise programs that could work for people in Australia and the way they should, because there are programs there. I just don't think people know how to actually get into them or if there's actual ways to go. I'd love to park that for another time, but here, check this out, right? So this is from, where's the camera? This is from my mate Jerry, who was on the pod. It's probably backwards, but I'll say it to you. So this is why people are leaving the West. Sydney, $6,000 a month. New York, $7,000 a month. London, $5,500 a month. Then we go to the places that are not the West. Bangkok, $2,500 a month. Kuala Lumpur, $2,000 a month. Ho Chi Minh, $1,800 a month. Bali, $2,500. Shanghai, $3,000. Taipei, $2,800. Medellin, $2,200. So
What is that? Monthly costs?
Monthly cost, your cost of living, right? To live a similar level of Sydney, $6,000, $7,000, whatever it is that your cost of living is. For me, my cost of living is 3,500 Australian dollars a month, right?
And what does that? Does that give you? So
that gives me an apartment, a 200 square meter apartment, right, with 3 bedrooms, 3 en suites, pool, security, everything in a really nice area, right? Which I pay monthly. Don't have to worry about that. Cost of living for food. That's half of my budget. That's half of my budget. The rest is spent on food, going out and seeing friends, enjoying time with my wife. And that's just because I like to eat at the foreign market compared to just going to the Thai market, because I love Thai food, but sometimes it flies straight through me. But that's it. That's probably my highest cost, right? But it's really important and to say that, like Jerry is still paying his taxes in Australia. He is still an Australian citizen, but he's on a DTV visa, digital nomad visa in Thailand, which allows him to work digitally in Thailand. If there were programs in Australia which allowed you to do something of that, I don't know what that is exactly, or incentivize you to, not pay as much tax or get X amount of time off where you're building your business in Australia, you'd get people flooding there. It's an incredible place. Like, I love it there. It's really expensive. Like, that's it. So
yeah, it's an interesting take, because like, and the thing is, I think in the West, we overcomplicate things. I don't know if you feel that way, Mark. You make money, you do well, you start, right? You buy a new car, you buy this, you buy that, like you spend more, you go to the nicer places. And sometimes like I honestly think to myself, right? Like my wife wants to do a year in Europe and we're going to, right, within the next couple years. And like Portugal, we're Portuguese, perfect, right? Especially with the visas and the incentivization that they're doing there. And I think to myself, like, you know, they do it quite well over there in Europe. Like if you have the money, you have ways to make money. They're a lot more about lifestyle. I feel this is very, very similar in Southeast Asia. Here, like I see people, right? And I observe, I stare. I literally stare into people's souls, right? Like I'm a stare. I'm one of those guys. And I just see people like walking dead. I just see people just not enjoying what they're doing, not connected. There's something happening, I feel, and it's just like people are lost. And this is why I said at the event that we had, what I've realized in the last 2.5 years is two things. People need help and people want to be led by strong leaders, right? And like us, like what we're doing at Unemployable and us showing up every week and talking about our stuff and talking about our vulnerabilities, and at times we are naive with certain things. But I've just been seeing this over and over and over again. And I don't know if you guys are seeing it as well, but it just inspires me so much more to, one, look at myself in the mirror and going, why are you doing what you do? Right? My wife asked me last night, she goes, "You're the biggest overachiever that I know." And she's like, "Why? Why? Why is it always the next thing? Why is it always the next deal or the next business idea? Why can't you just sit in the lane that you're in and just enjoy it for a little bit, right?" And I had trouble sleeping last night thinking about these things, kind of like thinking about it and thinking about it, going, like we can go and sell things, do what we need to do, and go and live in Thailand or go and live in Portugal or go and live an easier life where you're chilling, And then the other the other side of me is like, yeah, but you're gonna get bored, and then what are you gonna do? And there's a reason why you're wired the way you are, right? And that's me. But these are the questions that I think people need to start asking themselves and looking themselves in the mirror. And this is the why I'm saying this, because I'm looking at people that are just lost, like stray dogs that are just, with their eyes glossed over, just doing the same thing day in, day out and getting the exact same result. I don't know if do you feel the same way, Mark?
Look, I think there's a couple of things here, right? Like first of all, on the point of going to live in another country, all the countries we've mentioned, Dubai, Spain, Portugal, Thailand, Malaysia, etc. The reality still is that there's more opportunity
Mm.
to find a job and live a life in Australia than there is in these countries. That is the reality. If you have the mobility or the ability to move to one of these countries where it's cheaper to live because you have a business or an income that can follow you, then power to you. But the reality is, for someone who has to be employed within a workforce, you're still better off in Australia than you are in those countries,
Yeah.
because good luck finding a job, right? I want to say that. So that then leads to my next point. And my next point is, number one in the playbook of things that people need to do is you need to be kinder to yourself, because we are all going through this dynamic together in real time. You've just heard Eric basically say, from it coming from a different point of view, but I couldn't sleep at night because I'm like, do I need to keep striving for more? And often part of the reason that we strive for more is because we now have a 24/7 news feed of people who have more that is getting subconsciously implanted into our brain, right? I've read so many comments on the whole move out of Australia theme and viral content. So many comments saying, "Oh my God, that's amazing. but we can't do that now. And I can feel the pain in their words. And I think to myself, because I've been through similar things, right? Where I'm like, oh, should I be moving? And what I've recently, like, think it's starting to really get crystallized for me is that more important than being somewhere else, wherever that you are, is that you have your vision clear.
Mm.
A clear vision will protect you from the should I be here? Should I be there? What should I be doing? My kryptonite is uncertainty.
Mm.
When I'm uncertain about what the next thing is going to be or how the next dollar is going to come in, that creates this scarcity mentality where you're always chasing. When I start to get clear on the next thing, or like for me this year, money is not what I'm focused on. It's about building my personal brand. It's about building great content and adding value, because I know that at the end of that, that there's going to be rewards there. Should I
Yeah.
choose to go
What
down
what
that
would
route?
you recommend? Like saying people need to work on their vision, right? Like for the people listening, what are the one thing or couple things that you would tell them that you do? Because I know you do you do this a lot. You and I are a lot different. Mark is the guy that will at 2
Very
p.m.
similar and very different.
Very similar, very different. Mark's at the guy that's, you know, in Byron Bay at 2 p.m. having a swim at 2 p.m. Right? Walk to the beach barefoot, go for a swim, hang out for a bit, come back home, right? Make his shake, eat his tuna, do his thing, right? Like, I don't think I have ever went to the beach at 2 p.m. during working hours unless I'm on holidays, right? Or it is a weekend with my family. I have no, like, because I am wired in a way, right? Where it's like, that's work time. You're not supposed to be doing that, right? Then that's my issue, right? So what I want to know is, because as much as we are alike, we're very different when it comes to that. And I actually look up to you. You don't realize this, but I actually look up to you in that way, going, I need to take a little bit of Mark in my life, right? In that sense. So what I want you to tell the audience is, you said, be clear on your vision. What are a couple things you can give the audience to help them become clear on their vision? Because you're a lot better than that than I am, because I've got a vision, but I'm still just, right? I actually need to slow down. You have actually, you're kind of in the middle. Like you do a lot of things, and then I feel like you're doing, like a lot of, chilling things as well. Like they're like, you kind of like, that equilibrium is just quite centered, which I'm total opposite at the moment. So rather than me saying, I think it'll be great, like, have you done to get clear?
Okay, so one of the problems with listening to people online or strangers online is you only get the current snapshot of their lives, and you don't see the other 20 years that led up to that point. So it's dangerous to kind of give. I find it's dangerous to kind of listen to advice that you hear someone like me say what I'm about to say. So I'm going to try and preface this by saying, for 15 years, maybe more, I worked weekends. While all my friends were out partying, I was selling land on weekends, and I got 2 days off during the week, either Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, Friday. And so the first bit of advice that I would give is for everyone listening to understand, what season of your life are you currently in? Are you in the season of your life where you have to work weekends, or you can't go for a swim at 2:30 in the afternoon because there's just a bunch of things that need to get done? Um, I think I had a lot of trouble during that time because I tried to go out and start different businesses that failed and whatnot. And then when I was transitioning out of land, working weekends, into doing a business, I had a lot of trouble deciding what to do, because because I had builders that were making squizines of money, and I had developers who were making squizines of money. And so I gave all these things a try, but they didn't resonate with me because they pulled me away from that North Star. And that North Star for me is that ability to be able to go and have a swim in the middle of the day. So don't get me wrong, right? Like when I have a focus and something to work on, I will work my ass off on that goal. Like you guys probably saw what I started doing with the Black Book offshore
Yeah, yeah.
and how quickly
And,
that would have moved. And I would have
this is
pumped, and I'll continue. And right when the
yes.
opportunity comes, whatever market is, I will do that, and I will work in sprints.
Yeah.
Right.
And I want to make sure that this, I hope it doesn't come across as me going, hey, you're not doing work, or like, that's not, like, you just seem like you do so much work, right? Like with the stuff that you do in the research, and like, I feel like I don't even have time for research. I don't even have time for you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, you're working very differently, which is very, very, from the outside, I think about this a lot. I'm like, man, this guy's cohesive, man. Like, he's in flow at the moment. Like, I know you're in between a couple of things, like with the Black Book and stuff like that, but like, just in general with your trading and then the podcast and these types of things. So that's why it's so good to hear it from you, right? Because I'm the guy that, like, I get probably 3 to 5 things pitched at me every week, and I'd like to give people some time. Like, I'm giving time to a friend of mine tomorrow who's got he's involved in 5 big gyms in the UK, and they got this exclusivity to this amazing fitness brand, right? Gym equipment brand, one of the biggest in the world, and they want to get the rights to it to Australia. And they're like, would you be interested in helping or funding? And I'm just like, no, I'll have a chat with you, but what I got to start doing is saying no.
Well, I was just about to say the next thing would be, once you've worked out the stage in your life, what you say no to, in my opinion, is more important than what you say yes
Say
to.
yes. Yeah, 100%.
Because saying yes to something that is the wrong thing, and we all make mistakes and we have to walk things back, that's okay. But saying yes to too many things just steals bandwidth,
Mm,
right?
yeah, I
And
agree.
so it's really important to be able to discern between opportunities and say no to things knowing that you're going to miss out on upside sometimes, like saying no to opportunities that are going to be winners in order to have a little bit more freedom or time or whatever thing, or to work on that thing that might be a slower cooker, a slow burn. There's so many more things that I could be doing with my time at the moment to probably make more money in the interim, but I want to work on the things that are going to be a slow burn or that are going to fulfill me more in the long run. So,
Yeah.
then it's the kind of the Venn diagram. It's like, what am I most passionate and curious about that I would do for nothing? What 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 does the world need? Right? What does the world need most right now? And what is the thing that I could add value with that the world needs that I could actually get paid for doing? And it's like,
Uh,
where there's overlap on those 3 things, that's probably the
That's the
thing
sweet
that
spot.
might not give you the most money, but it'll probably give you the best quality of life and fulfillment.
Yeah.
I want everyone to listen to that 10 times over. What Mark just said there is the biggest golden nugget that you're going to get from probably any podcast that you're going to be listening to this week. This is the granular stuff, right? And, like, in my opinion, what you just did there, everyone has to do.
Jerome, clip that. No,
No, it's right.
it's so true.
Right. Like, that's the thing, right? Can you repeat those 3 things again? Do you remember what they
Yeah,
were?
yeah, and it changes from time to time, so you've got to do it often. But this is Eric White, where, like, I look at you and I kind of see, from the discussions that we've had, you're moving so much, you're moving so quickly towards that thing that gives you the most fulfillment and that you're
Yep.
most passionate about, right? And I can just see it, like, it's just happening naturally. But the things are, what is the thing that I'm most curious about, most passionate about, that I would do for free?
Yeah.
What does the world currently need most in my circle of sphere of influence or circle of competence? And then what of those 2 things, what the world needs and I'm passionate about, could I offer to the world and get paid for providing that value.
Mm.
And that little intersection of those three things is,
That's
again, not the thing that's
Mm.
going to give you the most money, that I can guarantee you, but it's probably the
Yeah.
thing that's going to give you the best fulfillment in life.
For someone who's in a position where they haven't even got to that, would you say that using the sprint process to test things that people have interest, to really just try and get like a learn, because I've done it before where I've gone, catch as many stars as you can, try as many things as possible, and then I realized I really like that one, I really like that one, I really like that one, but it took me to do them to go, I don't actually think I want to go any further with that. And is there anything you could suggest for that as well?
Sometimes the challenge is that you do a bunch of those things and one makes money, but it sucks the life out of you. All right, like for example, and then sometimes you got one that doesn't make money, but you just love it. So for the first 3 years of me, kind of like first 2 or 3 years of me, like listening to macro podcasts, probably 50% of my working day was listening to podcasts. I was losing money in markets. I'm like, I shouldn't be doing this because I'm not making any ROI from it. But then I realized that's the thing that I'm most passionate about, the macro and how the world works and all of that. So I kind of stuck with it. And for me to make money from that, it's a long game because you got to compound your wealth. There's no quick wins because you always give those back, those quick wins. And if I'm going to make money selling a service or educating people in that sphere, that's a long, long path to profitability, right? Because you got to give away so much for nothing. And so it's like, but it's what's the thing that you just keep going back to, even though you might not be making money from it, that like in your spare a great litmus test is, in your spare time, what are you reading books about, listening to podcasts about, or researching or doing? That's a great test, that in your spare time, in your after hours, or when you've got that
It's
thing
funny
is your
because, like, you like with Unemployable, for those of you guys that don't know, that have been literally living under a rock, if you follow Unemployable, you would know that we had a very large event, not last week and the weekend before, and we all got hit by a train after and got sick and just run down from, because it was just all hands on deck. But it was such a successful event, and like what we do is show up every week, right? Like today, I'm at home. Obviously, the background's a little bit different. Usually, I'm in the studio doing these Friday pods, but I'm at home. But what we do is we show up every week. It doesn't matter, right? Like James was sick today and Raph was sick today. And I'm like, shit, do we postpone the Friday pod? Do we wait? Right? No, Perry, can you come on? Yep, I'm good. All right. Mark didn't even know Perry was on. He's like, I guess it's just you and I at the start. But we just still show up. And we've been doing this now 2.5 years. And we show up in the studio, or we show up in front of a laptop. In the studio is usually us four, right? And a videographer and 5-6 cameras pointing at us. And we're putting out content, right? And we're not getting paid for it. And we're just doing it. And for me, when you say, what would you do in your spare, like, that is what
That's it.
I really, really love. And
I didn't want to say it because
I know, yeah. And being on the stage, right? I'm getting goosebumps talking about it now. Being on the stage, I just sat there for like 20 seconds and I just looked and I was just like, this is all real, right? Because you just don't know who you're impacting. Now, I could be doing other things that would be earning me so much more, right? Like you said, Mark. But for me, it's this long-term play of just provide value, provide impact, and good things will happen, right?
Do you want to, like, we could give the audience a sneak peek, fly on the wall stuff of what you and I were talking about when we were having breakfast with our families on the weekend, potentially creating a community of high net worth individuals that meet twice a year in exotic locations, not to sell anything at the event, but just to get these people in a room together, because we're all yearning for that connection, and no matter how successful you are, to find your purpose with fulfillment, right?
Well, I mean, what really got me that is, like, when you being on stage, one, and people coming up to you and just saying so many good things, that they watch the pod and you're changing our lives and we need more people like you. And that's when I really realized, people want to be helped and people need to be led, by strong leaders that have strong beliefs and that are authentic, that are real. And what Mark and I were talking about is, yes, we've got property coaching. Yes, we're relaunching the business coaching and doing these things. And that's great, obviously, because you're helping people that want that. But then, like I've set up a Minect account for anyone that wants to check it out. Just research Eric Machado on Minect. And I had a call with a few calls. I had a call, excuse me, with a guy, very wealthy developer from South Australia, and it was a great call. And I asked, "But what are you actually here for? Like you're doing well. Like I can't really teach you things how to make more money because you're already making a lot more money than me, and you're doing really well for yourself." And he's like, "Connection, community and connection." So what Mark and I have been talking about is just like, and it would be good to hear you guys in the comments if you're still listening on, creating a tight knit community that they might not want coaching. They might not want property coaching, but what they want is connection. What they want is community. What they want is to get surrounded with people that are like minded. Go ahead, Mike.
Eric, I'm just thinking as well, like you've always told us repeatedly on this show that your superpower is connection. And this
Super
is like,
connector, yeah.
this is the Venn diagram starting to
Yeah.
come together, right?
Right. So like who wants to connect, right? Who would want to go to a private event where it's just, Mark and I, or maybe Perry flies in, or whoever that may be, and connect for a weekend, right? Like just not sitting there and smashing education down your throat about this or that, but just something cool where you can connect with like-minded people. I know there was people in the room that didn't want to know anything about property on the weekend, and they are there for the community,
for
and
the
they're there
network.
for the connection, and they paid thousands of dollars to be there. And then they're asking, when is the Bali trip and when are we connecting again? That's what I'm starting to realize a lot of people want, and we haven't been offering that.
Well-
What we're offering is coaching, and we're offering that, remotely on a podcast that you're listening to us in a car or on the train or on the plane or on a run or wherever you listen to us, even if it's in your living room and watching us. But I'd love to know in the comments if you guys would be more interested in that as well. Perry, you're going to
I'll give you something on that. So every single person who came on the Dubai trip, I got a response from every single one saying, yes, we want to do it again. And the second thing on that said, what did you like? What did you not like? And they said, we want more networking opportunities where we can just be in the room or be in a group of people where we're doing an activity together.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Make us uncomfortable so we become comfortable.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like,
and the thing is, I asked one question, right? I said, so community and connection. So tell me more, right? I said, why do you feel that way? And he's like, I can't really discuss this with my close friends or family. They're not all doing what I'm doing. So it's good to connect with someone and talk to someone that kind of has a similar mindset. Now, when I used to deal with more anxiety back in the day, right? I'd when I'm talking to someone and they haven't experienced it, it's kind of like, it's hard to communicate because you don't know what I'm talking about. But as soon as somebody, like Adam as an example, I know he used to deal with a bit of it. Yeah, man, I felt that way before. There's a connection. There's like this common connection because you guys know what you feel. You know what you've dealt with. And I think it's the same thing in this entrepreneurial, because we are a very small percentage of the population, guys. We forget this. My wife told me this yesterday. She goes, Eric, what you need to remember, because I'm like, yeah, but I feel like I need to do more. And then, and she's like, you will be in the 0.000% of the population on what we're actually, and what you are actually, and us as a couple are actually doing. And that is the crazy thing, right? So we got 40,000 or so subscribers now and followers, and we get some half decent views on the pods, all real, all organic. But it's those crazy ones like you and myself and Perry and Adam that are the real, ones that want the change, that listen to like I get messages from people going, I listen to this podcast every Friday. I don't miss one. And I'm like, I think we're good, but I don't think we're like phenomenal compared to PBD and Hormozy. And there's no comparison, right? So I don't take that lightly when somebody like for an hour listening to us talk smack about different things and our opinions, right? Like I'm like, holy shit, man, that comes with a big responsibility. But I think there's a lot of you guys out there that are probably wanting more of this connection. And we're not even sure what that will be yet. Like this was literally in Byron Bay, on the weekend, just having a bit of chat because Mark's the same, right? Like we're
I see. I've like the reason I agreed to do the podcast was for connection. That's why I did it for free, right? Because I wanted the connection. And then it's just kind of built and built and built, and it's given me friendships, and that's more than money can ever buy. But from I look at Adam and the stuff that he's getting up to around the world, and I kind of want to connect with him and the people that he's meeting, and so and they want to connect with other people, and it's like, and it doesn't matter where you're at. Like even if you're sitting at home and you can't afford to go on one of these trips or be part of one of these communities, where's your local group that you can kind of connect with? I had a conversation with a friend of mine that's going through some difficult shit at home at the moment, and the first question I asked him is, "Who are you hanging around at the moment?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, I've been pulling back, haven't been leaning in." It's like, yeah, that's that's what
don't
we
you think
do when
people
things get hard. We pull back, but we need to connect.
don't you think it's important? Like sometimes people go through phases where you do need to kind of regress to then open up again because you need to kind of pull off the threads of the bad influences, the bad people, because I went through a phase where I literally didn't see anyone for a good year, and I came out of a cocoon as a butterfly. I'd
Like
say, you know.
whether we need to or not, that's just the way life works, right? That's we go through those phases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But guys, like we're gonna end the podcast here because we've been going on for an hour already.
Sorry, I just
Yep.
want to say one thing on that, Perry. You went into the cocoon and came out a butterfly. That I worry because there's many more people who go into the cocoon and don't come out. And I don't mean like tragically, but just get stuck in that
Yeah.
cocoon and never emerge as a butterfly.
It's a good
And
point.
you know,
So I think, guys, if you're more interested in something like that, and I know we're being very broad here, let us know in the comments. Excuse me, and just send us an email to hello@unemployable.com.au. We see all the emails, right? That come through to that email. So hello@unemployable.com.au. We don't have a landing page. This isn't a sales thing. Just let us know what you would like, where you would like to do it. What would you want? Where would you want it to be? What activities would you want to do? Like, is it networking? Is it hanging out? Like, I don't know if it's the whole thing of doing the Wim Hof breathing and then the cold plunge and then all that type of thing. Maybe it's a bit of that too. I don't know, but I think it's just like-minded people
Yeah.
that want to push each other to continue to do better in life all round. Monetization, family, time for yourself, health, optimization. Let us know because I think that's very important. And Perry, thanks so much for joining us from Thailand. It's a pleasure working with you, obviously.
Yeah, I've just let Jen know that any emails come from that, send them to Mark and Eric. So
Yeah,
as
just see. Just see. Who knows, right? But those emails are checked every day by one of our team members, and I like where this went, guys. Like we could sit. The thing is, right? The clickbait stuff is the population growth. It's the interest rates. It's the guy that's pumping $3,000 worth of fuel that I just seen on news.com. That Albanese saying, "Don't be that guy," right? That's all but that's to get attention, right? Unfortunately, we have to talk about these things. I would love to talk about deeper conversations like this even more, because to me, that is where the real things happen. Like those 3 things that Mark said, right? Like write that down on a piece of fucking paper, print it off, put it on your mirror, put it on your dash, put it everywhere so you can actually see it every day. So it's in your face so you can actually start doing that work. So yeah, guys, appreciate it. Mark, Perry, as always, hopefully the rest of the gang better next week. We'll see. There's a bit of sickness going around and sticking around, so we'll see how we go. But guys, please like, subscribe, share. The best thing you can do is subscribe and share, right? If you have more time, comments, we see the comments. We might not reply to every comment, but we see the comments. The good ones, the bad ones, we see them all. So appreciate you guys, and we'll see you on the next one.
Hey there, I hope you enjoyed that episode of Unemployable. If you'd like to watch another episode, just click there.